What's going on, everybody? Back after a weekend, back to the weekday baseball slates. We've got a pretty nice slate on tap for tonight for the main slate. We've also got the turbo slate early on. We've got, 8 games tonight on the main slate. So we'll hop right in. Kind of going to do two things today. I'm going to give a high-level overview of the pitching, hitting, spots on the slate, looking at the sheet, and then I'm going to share my screen switch it over to SaberSim, who I use mostly for my optimizer, and kind of go through my process quickly. Again, going to try to keep this within 20 to 30 minutes and hop right through. So before I get into that, we do have down in the description of the video, you'll see some info towards the bottom that we've got a new partnership with Ship It Nation to give you guys 15% off of a monthly or annual subscription. And in that included as well, you're also going to get a 7-day free trial. So you can try them out at no cost for a week and see if you like it and stay around. I think they complement us very well. We have the sheets and some picks and rankings and highlights, and they go a little more in depth with some more written content and things like that to go in coordination with ours. And I really think that pricing wise, it's very affordable to be a member of both. That was something that I was, at first would be worried about partnering with another site is the cost for some players. But with ours being $25 a month, theirs being, depending on if you choose to use their optimizer or not, you can probably get out, I think it's like $80 if you choose no optimizer or something like that with, let's see, 25 plus 58, about $83 a month. You could be a member of both sites and get loads and loads of content. So check them out free for a week, see if you like it. They have a lot of golf content with the PGA Tour playoffs, FedEx Cup starting this week, baseball, of course, just like us. So I'll hop right in. Again, going to go through pitching, hitting, and then go through my process through SaberSim, who I use mostly in my optimizer. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'll get to them when I see them here pop up. So let's hop right in. So the late game tonight is San Francisco and Atlanta. The top two priced arms on the slate are in that game, Chris Sale and Blake Snell. 6.5 total, very low total, big K props, as you can see on the sheet for both these guys, 8.5 for Sale, 7.5 for Snell. Those two sound very similar. I think both are very good plays. I don't know, depending on pricing, you're going to have to get some value bats to see if you can play those two guys together. I've not played around with building. Maybe when we get over to SaberSim, we'll be able to tell how easy is it to get those guys together. After that, in terms of guys that I have interest in, not really interested in Pablo Lopez. I don't like the matchup, low K prop against a team that doesn't strike out a whole lot. Peralta goes up against the Dodgers. They get Mookie back tonight, it looks like. And I don't love picking on that offense. So that brings me up to the next range of the 9K and into the 8K range. Luis Gil, 6.5K prop, 9K, going up against the horrific White Sox lineup. Always for him, it's just is he in control of his stuff each and every night? And if he is, he can have big strikeout matchups and definitely can here in this type of matchup against the White Sox. So I like him quite a bit for tournaments. Again, you've got the risk of, he's not the safest option no matter who he's going up against. And then you got Brandon Pfaadt for Arizona going up against Colorado in another juicy matchup for them here at home. 6.5K prop for him, 8,600. Again, it's just the matchup really there. He projects really well. Below that, there's not a ton that I have a lot of interest in. You've got Kershaw at 7,700, decent, but he's going to be limited probably to 80 to 90 pitches. But he could get there in this matchup. Milwaukee's been hitting it pretty well over the weekend anyway. Then from there, you're just kind of picking on maybe a matchup or something like Toronto going up against LA with Bowden Francis. But I think there's quite a bit of opportunity cost tonight when you get down below these top two arms who could go for massive scores, and then into this 8K, 9K range right here with Yale and Thad. I think both of them could have very solid outings. So as long as we can find some value pieces of stacks, I think I'll probably want to stay with two of these guys up here. I have no problem playing two guys in the same game. That's something that I've never had an issue with. I know they both, of course, can't get the win, but in a 6.5 total with big strikeout upside for both, I really like that. Don't play the NASCAR driver. Yeah. Kyle Busch, I don't know. Luckily, they spell their last name different, I guess, for him. But going up against the Yankees. So that transitions us right into the bats. The chalk two options, the Yankees and the Diamondbacks. The Yankees get Kyle Busch and the Chicago bullpen, who is horrific, as everybody knows. Arizona gets Colorado. Last I checked, they haven't even announced an actual starter yet. So it looks like going to be a bullpen spot for them, and they are also horrific in the bullpen. So both of those are going to be popular options. They make sense, of course, in single entry type stuff. If you want to get away from them, I also get that. I'm going to sort by these implied runs that looks to have just updated. 1 second. So I would get the appeal of going away from that as well. And moving on down into just going by implied runs, you've got Boston and San Diego. Boston, I've really liked them against righties recently, and they just are on fire. The lineup looks a little bit different. I think Duran got suspended for 2 games, I think I seen earlier. Let's take a look at their lineup just came out. So Hamilton's leading off, Yoshida, Rep Snyder, Devers, Wong, Abreu, Smith, Sogard, Raffaello. I think, you can take like Sogard, take a cheaper piece of that lineup. I think they could have a very solid night if you want to get a little bit different. The Padres and the Twins are the other two teams that currently I have highlighted. Neither one of those do I ever get enthused about full stacking. So both of those I think would be mini stack spots for me, maybe as a combination with one of those other chalky offenses in New York and Arizona. San Diego gets Jake Woodford. That's probably, I think that's a bullpen game. Minnesota gets Singer, and they're just on fire right now. San Diego's hitting it really well too. I just don't love the idea of full five-man stacking them. That's really where I'm at with offenses. LA's a little higher than I would have expected. They're going up against Francis. Toronto gets Davis Daniel on the other side of that game. Just not, Bello could implode at any moment, but he's also got upside, I guess. So Texas is there. LA should get Mookie back, but Peralta's not an easy matchup. There's just not a ton down the board that I like. So I'm going to have to probably, for me, find a way to get different in the more chalky offenses, maybe do a mini Minnesota or a mini San Diego. I don't know how different that'll be, but we're going to play around with some builds here in SaberSim. See what I'm getting. I've not run any runs. I usually like to do kind of a base run to kind of see what's popping out in the optimizer. Then that helps me with the thoughts that I've already had on the slate. Then I can go back in and kind of run and make some adjustments on my own from there. So we're going to start with this base run here. So little things that I do just to start, just kind of basic stuff here. Of course, have the rule of no hitters against pitchers, really basic stuff on the rest of the settings. other than I do take out, I go into stacking on stack exposure. And I talked about this some last week when I did a show on Thursday night. I rarely ever do anything outside of 5-3, 5-2. So that's where I'm going to start. The base run is just with those two options as far as stacking. I talked about this again last week, so if you watched, I apologize, but I like to get two teams right as opposed to trying to get multiple players correct. I think, just coherently to me, that makes sense. And I know there's going to be nights that mini stacks get it done, and those are just not going to be the nights that I'm going to win. And so that's where I start this with 5-2, 5-3. Maybe if I'm hand building, I can land on the 4-4, but I really don't like that option either. It just kind of limits what you don't have the majority of any team. So you're more inclined to have to get the exact players in that, as opposed to having a full-on 5-man where you got a little more outs with that team if they do hit. So let's run this thing, see what we've got coming out. As far as we'll be able to look at both pitcher exposure is where we'll start, and then we'll kind of look at who are we getting in terms of stacks. All right. So pitching, I'll sort this by exposures. Well, let's look at the top of pricing, I guess, or the top of projections. So Sale, who we got a big percentage of him. We also got a lot of Louis Heel. Snell, we got a little bit of. Peralta, we actually got a little bit of. Again, I left everybody in this run. I did not take anybody out. And this is sorted. If you've used or are using SaberSim, this is currently sorted by their Saber score. I don't have the version that has contest simulations right now. I've had really good luck with Saber score over the years anyway, so I feel pretty good about that. But in terms of pitcher stuff, we got a lot of Sale, a lot of Yield, some Snell and Peralta. We didn't hardly get any Fat, and I'm really surprised we got Tyler Mahle. I will not be playing him. We also got, I'm assuming this is a leverage deal here, 4K. I haven't even seen Bradley Blaylock be confirmed. That could be an oversight on my part. But he's at 30%. That will not be happening. So those are some little things, but I like to see who does pop out. And this kind of especially helps me that Yield is kind of higher than I would have expected. Snell's a little lower than I would have expected. Fat's definitely lower than I would have expected or wanted. So those are kind of things that I would potentially look at. Moving over to the stack exposures, and this is running on 20 teams that you would need. So let me bump that up to 150 and see what we get. This will kind of give you an idea. So you've got two different things that we're looking at just before we move on. If you're not familiar with SaberSim, you've got exposure, and then you've got how many in the pool. So if you think of this, the pool is the 1,500 teams that I ran. Exposure is out of the 150 top rated teams by Saber score, how many are coming out in those top 150. So again, we still got a lot of Sale, we still got a lot of Yield, we got a little bit of Snell and Peralta still, didn't get a whole lot of Fat, still got some Mahle, got more Blaylock, and Lord have mercy, we got Kyle Busch in there, so probably won't be getting there. Moving over to stacks, and again, I'll zoom this in probably back to the top 20 teams and see how it come out as well. But in terms of teams, 5-man stacks, we got a ton of Texas. Oh, okay. Ton of Texas here. interesting. That'll be something that I want to look into a little bit more. I mean, I mentioned earlier when we were on the sheet that Bello could blow up at any moment, but he also has upside, so maybe that's part of that. They have them projected for 5 runs on the sheet. We have them projected for 4.3. So they're a little bit higher on Texas. They got KC, LA, and Arizona. So a lot of this stuff, when you run something that's doing simulations, something you're going to notice is that it pivots off of chalk quite a bit to give you leverage, especially in baseball, and especially when I have the setting turned up really high for correlation and sim diversity. It's going to look at getting you leverage in your lineup. So that's probably part of this Texas deal. KC and LA. KC, let's see here. They've got Pablo. I don't hate that, honestly. They don't strike out, and Pablo's been really shaky to me, even though I've been playing him a little bit. And then they got some LA against Bowden Francis. Arizona, of the chalky bats, they're the highest exposed out of those top 150. So mini stacks, we got quite a bit of, so they're more so stacking, and this is very spread out here in 20 teams, but they're more so stacking Arizona and maybe in New York in some mini stacks than they are in full stacks, which makes sense. Again, to get leverage, kind of dropping off the chalky full stacks, going more to the minis, and then full stacking another team. So that's where they're at there. Let me zoom in into the top 20 teams. I know a lot of us, including me, only play 20 teams a night a lot of times. So we've got still a ton of Texas in those top 20. A little bit of LA. They still did 2 New York and 2 Arizona out of the 20. 3-mans, they got kind of spread out between LA, Pitt. That's a team I haven't seen yet. They're going up against Musgrove. Not sure that I'll get there, but hey, mini stacks doesn't take a whole lot really for mini stacks. A couple runs through the order of a few runs with those 3 guys, and you can get there. But that's pretty spread out. And then the 2-mans, they're mostly 5-3, but of the 4, they have Milwaukee, who again I said was hot over the weekend. And there, so the one that I'm the most interested to look into a little more is Texas. The fact that they are that high is interesting to me. Bello. What has Bello been doing? I don't remember his most recent outings very vividly. Wait, is he not? Is he? Oh, he's got an out tag on. Oh, he's coming back from the paternity list. Maybe they got the new dad in the model. They got the new dad stats in the model, that he's had no sleep over the weekend. So interesting. Paternity list Friday, but he will return for Monday. Personal reasons. So I don't know. Maybe it's not a new kid. I'm not sure. I mean, that's what paternity means to me, but they say personal reasons. Recent outings, he had KC. Yeah, I mean, he gives up homers. He gave up a home run in his last 6 starts, and all but 2 of like his last 10. He gave up for 11. He's gave up homers. Not a lot, but yeah, he's gave up 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 5, 1, 7 in his last few. And he's got some, he's usually in the 6 to 7 K range, at least over the last 3 or 4. Yeah, I don't hate that. I don't know. I don't think he's had Texas this year. I could be wrong. Yeah, he hasn't pitched against Texas. He had KC, Seattle, New York the last 3, and then the Dodgers before that, KC again. So, I don't hate that. I don't hate going to, Yeah, weather blowing out to right. Mm-hmm. That could be a sneaky stack. I don't hate that at all. So I'm gonna highlight them on the sheet as a tournament, stack, and they're liking them as a full on. So that's interesting for sure. So I'm gonna do just a couple quick tweaks, and then maybe I'll run it again, see if it changes any of the offenses. I'm not gonna do a whole lot other than I might bump some run totals or something, maybe for a team that I like Boston. So really, I'm liking that game quite a bit. I think I might manually bump down Yield and kind of see if that brings him a little closer to these other guys. I'll drop him to 17. Well, let's go 16 and a half. From where he was at. Also I'm going to get rid of all the pitchers that I don't want to play. So I'll keep Sale, Snell, Yield, Peralta. No, not Peralta. Fat. I think that's it. I'm just going to keep those 4 in the pool right now and see what teams it spits out around them. In terms of, and I also bumped him down. In terms of team run totals, I think I'm going to bump Boston to 5.5. That applies to all the games. It affects all of your projections a little bit. I think that's all I'm going to do. The rest, I'm good with where they're at. Texas, I'm going to leave. So if you're in a quick pinch or you just make a couple quick changes, like I did this in NASCAR yesterday, let's just say I wanted to cap out. I didn't want to make many drastic changes, but I wanted to cap out somebody's ownership or exposure at, let's just say 30%. I got 50%. I want to cap them out at 30. I could come back into here, change that within the setting, and then I would just apply it here. When I've made the type of changes that I have, I completely rerun it again because there's so many changes. So I'm going to do that here. But if you were in, towards the end of your building process and you had, let's just say you had Snell at 75%, but you wanted to cap him at 50, just change that here in the max exposure and then apply it here. It's going to pull still out of those same 1,500 builds that you generated the first time. But it'll get you closer to the percentage that you want there. Same way if you wanted to bump somebody's exposure. I use that more so in golf and NASCAR and sports like that than I would here, and definitely with pitchers here. And ultimately, really, when I run 20 teams, we'll look at actual player exposures here in a minute. But that's probably one of the last things that I look at when I'm building is, I'm building around teams, the hitters on those teams, unless something looks really out of whack, like I get 100% of one guy, I'm probably not going to adjust that very much. So let's see here. So it generated us some more teams. Out of those 4, now we have the most. Sale. It really bumped Fat up there when I did that. It bumped down Yield quite a bit and also bumped up Snell. So I'm going to be interested to see what this does to our I might have bumped Boston bats too much. I haven't even looked at the exposures for the teams, but I'm thinking I bumped their runs a little too much, but we'll see here what happens. All right, 5-man. Oh, my goodness. I bumped them half a run, and I didn't even get any Boston. So 5-man. So that might be telling me something. LA is popping again. Still got a lot of Texas. I really am interested to see some of those teams with Texas. We'll look at some specific team stuff here in a minute. So we got a lot of Texas, some LA and LA Angels, that is, and Arizona. 3-mans, we got Arizona, Toronto, LA. We didn't get any Yankees. No Yankees. Interesting. Okay. Let's look at some teams real quick, some hitter exposures, then I'm going to get out of here. So for Texas, who are we getting the most of? A lot of Simeon, Josh Smith, Tavares, Seager, and I think this lineup is out. Yeah, it's showing that it is currently out. Tavares in the 9 hole, getting a lot of the wraparound 1, 2, 3, 9 or 9, 1, 2, 3. Got the least of Jungheim, and the rest of the guys we got quite a bit of, over 25%. 4 guys over 50. Who are we getting for LA? That one's also a little weird to me. This lineup is not out yet. O'Hoppe. Yeah, I don't hate O'Hoppe. He pay up to be contrarian probably at catcher. I don't hate that. Maybe a little mini stack of Arizona or of the Angels if you're playing maybe a more chalky stack. I don't really love personally the idea of going Texas 5-man with Angel mini, but I think that's just a little too different unless you're playing in the large field stuff. 20 max stuff, I mean, I think that would be okay. I really wish we would have got some Boston. I don't know what I'm going to have to do to get Boston as opposed to really bumping them up. So some of the specific teams that we got. So here's the first team, and we got – so this is a 5-man Texas with a mini Arizona with Fat and Snell. Don't hate that at all. So it goes Simeon, Lau, Smith, Tavares, Seager. There, a little wraparound. And then, this is a 5-2-1. Okay. So it's got 5-7 McCarthy and Suarez, and then a one-off O'Hoppe. Now, I do like that. If you're going to tell me LA gets there, it's probably that option. So I don't hate that team at all. Here's a Fat Snell team, 5-3. So Snell, Fat, and then you've got the 5-man Texas with Jock, McCarthy, and Bale, a little 3-4-5 mini toward the middle of the order for Arizona. Really like that. So here is where they're giving you the 5-man Angel stack. They're pairing up Snell and Sale. And then they're going under with O'Hoppe, Shanuel, I'm butchering names, Rendon, Nato, Calhoun, and then a little 2-man, Loper, Fido, Springer, and one-off Gavin Lux. I don't know about one-offing Gavin Lux. I don't know if he's got the power for that. So here's probably a popular Del Castillo is going to be really popular at catcher. And if you look at this team, it's a Sale Yield team. And then you've got 4-5-6 Arizona mini, and then a 5-man wraparound, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4 for Texas. Really like that team. I think there's upside. You play the chalky catcher, but you get kind of a little bit of a different. Is Texas really? They seem pretty owned. We're going to have to look into ownership. Based on these ownership projections, that looks a little high. Maybe I'm missing something, but Texas wasn't even on my radar when I started looking at this, other than as a very secondary pivot. But these ownership projections have them a little bit high. We'll have to look into that. But really like some of these teams that are popping out. So this is the type of stuff that I'll do. Make some adjustments for myself. If I want to boost some guys, I usually do it through, again, boosting the run totals for the teams, boosting the pitcher projections, and then rerunning and do it that way, as opposed to just saying, I want 30% of them at least and max 50. I think that takes a lot out of what the Sims are trying to do, because it's having to do so much to pick up what you want. So that's where I'm at on the slate. I'm right at the 30-minute mark where I wanted to stay. Good luck to everybody tonight. I will have my core posted in the next bit on the sheet and probably in the chat. I'll probably be playing single entry or maybe 3 max tonight. might try out 20 tomorrow, but even in single entry stuff, I still like to use this to get an idea of what's the best team. If I say, all right, I'm going to stack Texas, Boston, just for example. All right, take all the rest of the hitters out, run some teams with the core or 4 pitchers that I want to keep in the pool, and what's some of the teams that it spits out. Because when I'm hand building, I tend to miss some things, especially in other sports like basketball. I'll miss an easy, well, I played this guy, but I could have played him who projected way better. So that's the type of stuff in single entry that I look for when I'm hand building, but still to use the optimizer. So good luck to everybody tonight. Let's turn on some green to start the week. Got a big week coming up, and we'll see you next time.